While retirement is generally seen as a time of relaxation and self-focus, God calls us to love, serve, and help others for a lifetime. He has been preparing us for this retirement season, literally our entire lives. In retirement, countless Christians enter a state of spiritual dormancy, not knowing how they are called to have an impact for God's kingdom. The Retirement Reformation seeks to encourage and empower the 50 million Christians approaching or in retirement to embrace the calling God has been preparing in them. When the world says it's time to stop, you can begin to have your greatest impact. Welcome to iRetire4Him, the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation, where our goal is to journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him.
Reaching out to the 50 million Christ followers in America who are approaching or already into retirement, you've tuned into iRetire4Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation. I'm joined today by the founder of the Retirement Reformation, Bruce Bruinsma. I'm Jim Brangenberg, your host. Please check us out online, retirementreformation.org, retirementreformation.org. Out on our website, I encourage you to check out the manifesto. Check out the resources, check out the books, check out the small group curriculum. There's so many resources out there, so many ways for you to get involved with groups of other people that are trying to figure out, what do I do with my retirement years? Retirementreformation.org, and on social media on Facebook, Retirement Reformation. In retirement, relationships are super important. How do we know which relationships we should grow, which relationships we should eliminate, which ones we should start? In today's podcast, the last of a three-part series, we're going to dig deep into sowing the seeds, planting the seeds of new relationships. It's often said that the only relationship we take with us into heaven is our one with our Heavenly Father, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. But I believe that that's wrong theology, because I believe we take with us the relationships that we've established here on earth for those that will go before us into heaven or follow us into heaven. That's why we really need to focus on relationships in retirement. Bruce Bruinsma was back right here on iRetire4Him. Thanks, Bruce, for being back today.
I'm looking forward to this third in our series. I would urge our listeners to go back and listen to the prior two. That provides a context for our conversation today. But clearly, when it says in Galatians 4:6, because you are His sons, God sent the Spirit of His Son into our hearts, and the Spirit calls out, Abba, Father. And so the Spirit that is within us is molding and shaping us, the fruits of the Spirit. And one of those ways that He's shaping us is to be a better representative of Jesus to the world. How do you be a representative of Jesus to the world? It is through our relationships. That is one of the key ways. Now, you can write books, and that creates relationship. You can do podcasts, and that creates relationships. But it's that one-on-one relationship that Jesus had with His disciples, and that each one of us is called to have with others. That's critical. So stepping into that is for some people difficult. I'm glad we're talking about what is it and how do we do it.
So, Bruce, planting the seeds of new relationships is not easy. Why wouldn't we just spend our time focusing on cultivating our existing relationships instead of starting new ones when we're in our retirement years?
Well, one of the reasons is that if we only focus on our existing relationships, we're going to have a shrinking world. We know that some of those relationships, people are going to die. Some of them are going to move away. Some of them are going to have changed circumstances in their life that will provide barriers and not allow the relationship to continue and to grow. So that if we are not adding new relationships, our world will shrink. When it shrinks, it focuses on us. When it focuses on us, that usually ends up in not a very, very good place. And so our God is a God of growth, and growing relationships is one of the things that we are challenged to do.
So growing relationships, planting the seeds of new relationships, that's what we're talking about today. Let's talk about, where have you and Judy found in the 6 decades of marriage and more than 6 decades of relationship, where have you found that you're able to grow the seeds of new relationships in your retirement years? You guys have been, quote unquote, in your retirement years for a couple of decades. Where is the best place to start this?
One of the things that Judy and I have found is that first of all, you got to put yourself out. You got to be with other people. And when you are with other people, whatever that context may be, and sometimes you need to be pretty creative for those contexts to evolve and to take advantage of. But when you're as God is leading you through the pathways of life, to identify people who have values or interests that are compatible with you, or that you're curious about, so that there's a reason why you are being drawn to them, and to be consciously aware of that step of who is it that's of interest and who has interests that are similar to yours. And when you do that, then you need to take some action steps to be able to bring that relationship. I found within a ministry context, if I'd like to get to know a certain pastor, the easiest thing to do is call him and say, "Hey, let's go out to lunch." And particularly if I'm buying, and so taking that step of connectivity is that first step is the first thing. My grandfather had a great saying: "Once begun is half done." So once you've begun to step into that relationship, then it's half done. Then there's more work to be done in order to facilitate that. I had lunch with a pastor. I guess about 3 weeks now, and we really hit it off. I had never met him before, and we just had an absolutely great lunch. He was interested in what I was interested in, and I was interested in what he was interested in, and we just really liked each other. Okay. If it was never other than that lunch, no relationship is going to grow out of that. But there was a seed that was planted. Now, both he and I have the responsibility to reach back out and take a step into what's next, whether I invite he and his wife over for dinner with Judy and myself, or we go out for breakfast or lunch again, or we have an event. We say, "Hey, let's go there together." But it takes intentionality and some perseverance to be able to, first of all, identify the interest, identify the seeds, and then to water them and help them to grow.
So do you find it easier making new relationships in your retirement years in your neighborhood, or is it just within the four walls of your church, or is it out there? I mean, you're very busy in your retirement work, and where do you and Judy find yourself planting the seeds of new relationships?
Actually, in all three of those. First of all, in the church, there's always new people coming. And so you have an opportunity to welcome them and be able to see if your interests are at all compatible in terms of what's next. Secondly, there are cultural and civic events that you go to and where you are exposed and meet people. And then third, within the framework of the Retirement Reformation, there meets some really wonderful people. Matter of fact, we did a Oxygen for Life event in Minnesota here a couple of weeks ago, and the pastor of that church is just a totally cool guy. I mean, I just really, really like him, and we hit it off. And I'm not going to read it to you, but he sent me the nicest note that I got yesterday, and it was just really encouraging. And so what am I going to do? Man, I'm going to call him, and we're going to find out a way for us to spend some time together. And so he reached out, and I'm going to respond. That's kind of the way it works.
It's like watering a seed. All right, when we come back, lots more conversation about planting the seeds of new relationships in our retirement years. You're listening to iRetire4Him. We'll be right back.
Recreating Retirement is an interactive small group study helping you to move from nothing to what's next. You can join us on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. East Coast time on Facebook Live. Our goal for this study is to provide a group setting for interaction and new ideas while leading you through a first step in your journey from retirement to reformation. Here's the big idea. During the next 5 years, 5,000 small groups will experience this journey of discovery in churches and faith-based organizations across the country. Is your church a place where recreating retirement needs to be planted? Join us online to experience the study or prepare to lead a small group at your church or ministry. Email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org or go to our website at retirementreformation.org. That's retirementreformation.org.
Hey, welcome back to iRetire4Him. Normally, I'd say in segment 2, we bring in somebody who's living out their faith in their retirement. We're going to hear their story. But you know, Bruce, I'm going to turn the tables on you today. You and Judy have been so busy for so many years working on encouraging retired folks and pre-retired folks just to find purpose and to really change the way they think about living out their faith in retirement. I really wanted to take this segment, if I could, with your permission, to talk about some of the really cool stuff that Retirement Reformation is doing around the country, because I think our listeners need to know. And one of the things I want to encourage our listeners first is please share with your friends that you're listening to this podcast. We've got a ton of great resources that your friends need to know, and all they need to do is subscribe to this podcast. They can subscribe to the weekly email that Bruce sends out from Retirement Reformation. They can get access to the podcast on any podcast platform, and if they don't know how to do that, all they got to do is ask their grandkids for help or their kids for help. But this is a resource because it's not just about Retirement Reformation, it's about all the other ministries we involve people with. Please share that you're listening to the iRetire4Him podcast. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us on our website, retirementreformation.org, and we can help you get signed up for the iRetire4Him podcast. Bruce, you've been doing these events. You kind of been plugging them a little bit here and a little bit there in our podcast. These Oxygen for Life events, what are they all about?
Oxygen for Life is such an exciting opportunity to be able to bring to a church family. So it's done in conjunction with a church, and it's a weekend event. It's a Friday, Saturday, and be Sunday event, where in fact a couple of things happen. Number one, we're able to bring together the older people, the 55 and olders from that church, and for the church to be able to tell them that you aren't useless, you really are valued and of great value. Second, from an evangelism standpoint, we know that the seniors are one of the groups that is leaving the church in the greatest numbers. And so to be able to reach out to the community and invite them in for that Friday evening service. And during that service, we bring the message about retirement reformation and all the issues of dealing with retirement and the options that are there. We reintroduce those people to the church, and hopefully the folks that are there have that aha moment of saying, oh my goodness, retirement really is 30 years. And secondly, God really does have a call on my life, and I need to figure out what's next. As part of that weekend on Saturday morning, we then spend 4 hours digging deeper into 4 or 5 key topics that are relevant for that age group and for that set of circumstances.
Well, and really, this fits in with our conversation, though, doesn't it, Bruce, about developing relationships? Because these Oxygen for Life events are going to help cultivate existing relationships and plant the seeds of new relationships with people in their very own church.
What we're hoping is that one of the things it will do is that it will either initiate or revitalize a ministry for that part of the church. And it's a growing part of the church in terms of numbers. Unfortunately, the church doesn't always recognize that. And so it's part of the Oxygen for Life is to breathe new life into the ministries and the thinking of those that hit that 55 and older category. So that's that. Second, then another thing that we're excited about, oh, by the way, God's put this huge dream, this huge vision in front of us. I have no idea how he's going to carry it out, but that in fact, we're going to do 5,000 Oxygen for Life events in the next 5 years. Clearly, I'm not going to do that. So he's going to bring people. He's already got them assigned. He's already got it figured out. We just need to be faithful in what we do, but 5,000 of these. So for our listeners, if your church is a part of that, please reach out for us and we'll be happy to talk to your staff and talk to the senior pastor and see if we can get this figured out. Well, as a result of the Oxygen for Life weekend, often what happens is that there's X number of people and go and say, okay, I realize that, oh my goodness, he does really have more. There is meaning and purpose. How do I figure it out? Well, now we have a 10-session small group study, which is called Recreating Retirement. And Recreating Retirement can then be facilitated in your church. And for those who say, okay, I'm ready to dig into this and to really figure out what's next. It's a wonderful process to go through. And matter of fact, I just finished writing the facilitator's guide for it. And it's just a wonderful event. And the reason why we do it in community in a small group is because the individuals that make up that group actually then can learn from each other and share with each other. The net result, however, will be a mission statement and an action plan for each individual to answer the question of what's next.
I've seen a lot of promotion about your fireside chats with Bruce Bruinsma right out there on Facebook. Talk to us about those.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to provide an opportunity for there to be some dialogue with those who are connected with us. And so we have once a month, I have a guest, we have a topic, and we spend 45 minutes to an hour discussing that topic and then being open for those who are viewing it to ask us questions. So it's an interactive opportunity, another way for community to take place. It's an outgrowth of the, if you go to Retirement Reformation on Facebook, and then you go under groups, there's a Retirement Reformation Reignite group, and that group is growing. Matter of fact, I think last time I looked, we had pushing to 900 people that had joined that group, and so we're finding that we can come together in community and dialogue with each other, and we put up challenging questions, and people give their answers, and we're able to, and so we're really excited about both the fireside chats and that interactive capacity, and then the Facebook group that is growing there.
Finally, I want to go back to an oldie but goodie. When you and I first met because of your Retirement Reformation Manifesto. It's been on your website for years, but it is perhaps the most significant thing that you've produced because it is the beginning of the paradigm shift for any pre-retiree or retiree as they begin to look at their retirement years through the lens of Scripture. As we close out this segment, why don't you just tell people why they should go out, check out the Retirement Reformation Manifesto and sign it and print it off for their wall?
I think in each one of our life journeys, there are key points of transition where God brings us either an experience, information, relationship, connection that really impacts us. And I would suggest for most of our listeners that as you move into and during these retirement years, that the message that is there, the picture that is painted in the manifesto will be part of your aha moment. And when I talk about an aha moment, it's that time when you go, I think I need to make some changes. I think I need to change the way I'm thinking. And I think I need to be able to step into the preferred future that God has for us. And that manifesto will give you a context for thinking about all of the issues that are involved in that. And so I would urge you to take a look at that retirement manifesto. And your refrigerator or your mirror might be a pretty good place for that to hang.
Go to Staples, get it laminated so you've got it.
There you go.
I mean, it's so powerful. Bruce, I want to thank you for giving us a little update, Retirement Reformation update. It's just good to know what's going on. And for you, our listeners, we just want you to be involved in what we're doing. We want to encourage you. We want to be there to equip you to vibrantly live out your faith in your retirement years. We've got so many different resources, so many different connections around the country. Please become a part of what we do. Go out to retirementreformation.org and sign up for the newsletter. Sign up for the podcast, get involved in what we're doing, retirementreformation.org. Now stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of our conversation on planting the seeds of new relationships as we bring an end to our relationship series. Hang on.
Our work on this earth doesn't end when the paycheck stops. God calls us to be faithful for a lifetime. Whether you're looking forward to retirement or you're already there, our all-small group study, Recreating Retirement, will help you understand, engage, and activate what God has for you in this fourth quarter of life. Join Retirement Reformation founder Bruce Bruinsma as you consider your past, strengths, spiritual gifts, and your passions, and how they all come together as the call God has for you in these years. Connect with us on our online community group at facebook.com/Retirement Reformation, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, or if you'd like to bring Recreating Retirement to your church, email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org. Are you ready to start your life-changing journey today?
Hey, welcome back to iRetire4Him as Bruce and I end the three-part series on relationships in retirement, and today's focus is on how do you plant the seeds of new relationships? And Bruce, we've talked about how to plant those seeds and how to get them going a little bit, but I think we got to kind of go back to the first podcast in this series, show number 86, where you gave us 7 steps for growing and cultivating the seeds relationship. Because after we planted a seed relationship, we need to grow it. What were those 7 steps again that we need to? You had 3 steps or 3 mindsets, and then 7 things we had to do. So what were those again?
Yeah, well, let me just review those, but let me put them in a context, because the most important new relationship that you can have is the next step in your relationship with God. And so the things that I'm going to talk about in terms of relationships between the horizontal relationships between us are absolutely right on with the steps that we need to take to enhance our relationship with God. And so I would hope as we finish out this podcast and we talk about these things that you'll put it in that context, because it's absolutely critical. Now, the three mindsets were, first of all, you need to be intentional. Secondly, you need to be persevering. In other words, don't give up, keep going. And third, you have to have curiosity. And that curiosity, we didn't talk about it much, but just very quickly, it means that you need to develop an interest in others or an interest in other things and a willingness to be able to investigate. And we got Google available, for Pete's sake. You can find out about almost anything. And so to be able to be of interest, because when you find things that are of interest because of your curiosity, it feeds the topics of conversation with the folks. Now, the 7 things that we talked about were, first of all, how important it is to stay in touch. Now, put that within our context with God. Number 1, to stay in touch and regularly check in. It's so easy to do these days. It used to be much harder. But today, at any point when a friend comes to mind, just pick up the phone and call them right then, or text them, as the case may be. So stay in touch regularly. Then, when you are with them in conversation on the phone or on Skype or on Zoom or on whatever it may be, or in person, be present with them. And what that means is that you're giving them your full attention. You're not divided. It just drives me nuts. Judy and I'll go out for dinner, and there will be a couple on the table next to us, and they spend their whole time on their cell phones doing whatever it is they're doing. They are not present with each other, so their relationship is not being enhanced one single bit. So be present. Third, show appreciation for who they are, what they do, what they're capable of doing, whatever it may be, but show appreciation. People like people who appreciate them. People like people who appreciate them. Fourth, celebrate milestones together and look for those milestones that you can celebrate. Then share experiences. Shared experiences with them, and share your experiences with them, and ask them about their experiences that they can share with you. One of the ways that we learn about life and we learn about all kinds of things is through the examples of others and others' shared experiences. And so to be able to do that is absolutely critical building. Sixth one is then communicate openly. Be willing to share your heart and share your mind and not be guarded about what you're saying and what's going to happen. If you have to be guarded with what you're saying, it's probably not a friend that you want to cultivate, because you need to be able to have that degree of honesty and openness together. So communicate openly. Both your thoughts and your feelings. And for guys particularly, that feelings piece is really hard. So you need to practice it. Communicate openly. And then support each other. Now, support each other may be just simply, they're sharing an experience, a difficulty perhaps they're having with a grandson or granddaughter. To be able to give them the verbal support that, you're going to pray for them, for example. And that they know that they've got somebody else on your side, on their side. That creates the bonds of relationships. So there are 7 things: stay in touch, be present, show appreciation, celebrate milestones, share experiences, communicate openly, and support each other.
And if you put all of these into practice, you're going to have one heck of a relationship, aren't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will be one where the cords cannot be broken.
And this works whether it's a relationship from church or in the neighborhood or while you're volunteering, it works. This works anywhere, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. And I think it's important as Christians that we have a variety of acquaintances and a variety of friends, that they're not all just the same. But that, in fact, because that gives us the opportunity to learn from each other. And I think when Christ envisioned the mosaic of the church, it was the mosaic of all these unique individual people that are able to come together under his headship, be able to accomplish things, and part of that, to be friends. Matter of fact, if you go in where it says, you used to be servants, but now I call you friend. And so to be a friend of Jesus and to be a friend of each other is what it is that we are called to do.
And it's such a great example to others. Hey, these Christians are really different. They actually love each other in their friendships. It's such a powerful example of who Christ is in our neighborhoods, in our churches even. Bruce, what a great series on relationships and retirement. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Thanks for digging it out and giving us meat to chew on and to write down, put on our walls. I just appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun going through all this. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for being such a great example and for sharing transparently when things don't always work out the way you plan on them working out. It's always good to know that you're still learning, even in your 80s.
Absolutely. When you stop learning, you might as well find the casket. So that's good. And Jim, I just appreciate your friendship and the partnership that we have doing what it is that we're doing here. And my prayer is that there will just simply be more and more people that will be able to experience what we are experiencing together and be able to share knowledge and to be friends.
Yeah, I love it. I love you too, Bruce. You've been listening to iRetire4Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation. I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg, and of course, you've been joined by Bruce Bruinsma, the founder of the Retirement Reformation. We're Christ-following brothers journeying from retirement to reformation so we can ultimately say, I retire for Him.
Thanks for listening to I Retire for Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg, and Retirement Reformation founder, Bruce Bruinsma. I Retire for Him is the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. Most Christians tend to follow the world's pattern of rest and self-pampering during retirement. However, in your retirement, you can be focused on God's unique call to love, serve, and help others. This can be your best season of life if you take advantage of a life's worth of knowledge and experience and combine it with a greater freedom of time and money and invest it all in the generations both preceding and following you. The Retirement Reformation is encouraging Christians to find and follow God's call in all seasons and aspects of life, especially in retirement. Take time to sign the manifesto at retirementreformation.org. and explore the wealth of resources available on our site. Join this movement of God and journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him. Go to retirementreformation.org.